So we're recording.
Good evening. Hang on one second. Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll be starting the meeting of the Newburyport Historical Commission in just a matter of a moment or two. We're just making sure we see if there are any additional attendees we want to join us. So this is the virtual meeting of the Newburyport Historical Commission for the 23rd of June, 2022. We are officially starting. Please be aware that this proceeding, like all these virtual meetings, is being recorded. Only the commissioners will have audio enabled, and except for one member of the public or their applicant and their attorneys, whatever, they'll be unmuted, except during a public hearing period. But I'm not expecting to have a public comment period tonight, so for the sake of time, I'll review the rules for those if and when that should change, which I do not expect. So we'll do a call of the roll of the commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with Mr. Andrew Bernhardt.
I'm here.
Okay. Malcolm Conrath, is he here? Not seeing Malcolm, so we'll assume for the moment that he is absent. Pardon me. Mark Syndrome.
I'm present.
Thank you, Mark. Christopher Fay.
I'm here.
Yep, there you are. Joe Morgan.
Here.
Okay, and the chair, Glenn Richards, is here. Okay, very good. So that's our commission for tonight. We have 5 members, so we are one above the legally required quorum. We will proceed with that. One second here to update my notes. The first item on our business is, or our order of business, our agenda, I should say, is the draft or now final draft preservation restriction for 344 Merrimack Street. I'm sure you all remember this. This was was at Section 6C project on Merrimack Street, right next door to a similar one that was done not too long ago. There was at our last meeting, there was a problem with the infamous Clause 29. This was a clause that turns out to be important because it ensures that no matter what happens down the road or with other mortgages, liens, whatever, the preservation restriction can always be enforced. So I'll give you a very brief update and explanation on this because we did have some communication with a representative from Mass Historical Commission, both Caitlin and myself. So I'll give you a very brief explanation of what was proposed by the applicant and what the Mass Historic said about that. So the problem was that they had these existing mortgages, and if those were there on the record, and then chronologically subsequent to that, this preservation restriction was filed, those would have priority, and the PR would be subordinate, which is not permitted. Mass Historical Commission wouldn't, sign off on something like that. The PR has to have must not be subordinate to any of the liens or mortgages or whatever. That way, even if there's a repossession or foreclosure or whatever, change of ownership and whatever happens, that PR is there on the record with priority and can always be enforced. So because of the complications in this case, and I see we have in attendance Paul Gagliardi, he's the attorney working on this, so I'm sure he's listening to this very carefully, and I'll give him a chance to respond when I'm done talking here. Mr. Gagliardi represents the applicant in this case, and he and Nick Cracknell, from whom we've heard, came up with a plan because they need to refinance this anyway. And there's a bunch of other things involving the dissolution of a condo association and all that stuff that we don't need to go into. The bottom line is that what they propose is that they will, when they refinance, they will first pay off or forget what the word is, extinguish, whatever, there's some legal term, the existing loans, which have first priority on the 2 condos. It's 2 condos, so technically 2 properties. Then, before filing any new mortgage documents that would impose liens, which they all do, they would first file the signed and approved preservation restriction. That way, it would have priority. And they have included in this latest draft language which you may have seen, clause 29, subjugation of prior loans is back in there. And it says, grantor represents and warrants to grantee that the property is not subject to any mortgages, liens, or leases prior in right to this restriction other than the following, and the two loans are mentioned that we talked about. Grantor, that's the applicant, further represents and warrants to grantee, that's the city and us, that A, the loans which are secured by the mortgage reference will be paid in full by the grantor and the mortgage is discharged, so they will not have priority over this preservation restriction agreement. And B, the grantor will provide both Newburyport Planning Board and Newburyport Historical Commission an opinion from an attorney which certifies that the preservation restriction agreement has been recorded at the Essex South District Registry of Deeds and that it is not subject to nor subordinate to any existing or future mortgages or liens of record. So I ran that by Mass Historical Commission, and they said, yeah, that'll do it. That'll be fine, and they can be okay with that. So I believe that pretty much clears the way because everything else in the PR we had, already straightened out. So before we take a motion, I'll just, okay, Paul, if I can be so informal, you're unmuted on our end. If you had any comment to make, you are welcome to do so now before we take our vote.
No, I would just say that I think you very accurately reflected our position and the facts and what we're proposing to do. And I think given the current mortgages that are on there that are held by secondary lenders all over the country, that this makes sense. It works for us. I think it works for you. It protects the commission and the planning board so that this preservation agreement will not be removed as a result of any foreclosure in the future. So, we will give you a certification once, and we're gonna have to take a lot of different steps all at once, and we will give you a certification and the planning board a certification that you have priority over any mortgage that we put on, and that we have discharged the existing mortgages.
Yep, very good. Thank you, Mr. Gagliardi. So, so that's pretty much that. I'm very happy with how that worked out. I'm sure the applicant is. It's still, as Paul said, they have a complicated closing if it's that ahead of them, but it is what it is. At least there's a solution that gets this rolling that we can now sign off. So unless if anyone on the commission has a comment to make, that would be fine. Or if someone would like to make a motion that we accept this revised preservation restriction, then that would be in order as well.
I move that we accept the current PR as amended for 344 Merrimack Street.
Okay, thank you, Joe Morgan. Any second, please?
I second Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Okay, so Andrew Bernhardt, your vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mark Cendrone?
Yes.
Thank you. Chris?
Yes.
Thank you, Chris. Joe Morgan?
Yes.
Okay, and the chair also assents, so you have 5 yays, so that is carried. So, Signor Gagliardi, you can take that away. What will probably need to happen is, Caitlin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know typically with these, there's now a paper version that I think I have to sign in front of a notary in City Hall, and not sure. I can't remember if it goes to Mass Historical before being signed off by the mayor and the city council or after, but I don't know, one of the other of those things. Do you have
It'll go to Mass Historic next,
Okay.
and then it will, go through its revision process. If anything significant is revised, we'll be back to you. Otherwise, it'll go to the city council and then mayor for signature, and then
Okay,
you'll sign it as well.
All right. Do I sign it before it goes off to Mass Historical?
No.
Oh, okay.
They have to say sign off.
Okay, so this will get that ball rolling to get. So do you, Caitlin, are you responsible for getting that off to those guys, Mass Historic?
Most of the time, it's the applicant that will
Oh, okay.
send it there, and then we're usually copied.
Okay, so Senior Gagliardi, are you good with that? You know, to whom to send it and all that good stuff?
Well, I'm not sure I know to whom to send it, so maybe Kate can give me that information. She
Sure.
has that.
Yeah.
Yes, will do.
Yeah, we usually send it by email to Michael Steinitz. She can give you his email address.
That would be great.
Yep. Okay, very good. Well, thank you for attending tonight, and thanks for your help on this matter.
And thank you, and to all the board members. We appreciate it
Okay.
working with you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, the other matter is a little bit weird. It's first time in my tenure on this commission that this has quite happened, but who knows, maybe it'll happen again. You might recall on 30 Carter Street, her plans, demo delay was imposed because her plans called for 2 dormers, which there was a lot of opposition to, both certain members of the public and on the board. She did not get 4 affirmative votes for her plan, so she has been under, and I guess technically still is under, a demolition delay. What she has done, she meaning the applicant Haley McLean, is she has modified her plans and removed the problem that created the requirement that she have a historical commission review in the first place. You might consider it a, quote, by right solution. So she has gotten a new, in fact, on the Zoom meeting, you can see the new zoning determination from Jennifer Blanchet, our zoning administrator, that what she currently plans to do is make renovations, and she's doing these exempt dormers and so on. Not her ideal solution, but I think she is, figure that this at least gets her out of any legal entanglements, and she can, get going with her project. I know that it seems a bit odd because there's a demolition delay. So, but yet her current plans don't call for any review or anything. So, Caitlin and they discussed down at the planning office. So, Caitlin, I've slightly modified your draft motion. I'm going to read a draft motion, which is basically what Caitlin had put together with slight modifications, slight edits by me. Sorry, can't help it. So this just removes the demo delay so that she can continue. I'm not even sure legally if this is technically required, but it'll make it cleaner, and everything will be more clear with the building commissioner and so on. Okay, so here's the draft motion. The demolition delay affecting 30 Carter Street is hereby removed, based on the understanding that the project has been modified and no longer triggers any review by the Historical Commission, as evidenced by the revised zoning determination from the zoning administrator dated June 7th, 2022. So that's the motion. I guess I'll take that as having proposed the motion. But actually, let me just stop there. Does anyone either second that or have a question about it?
Glenn, what's the revision? Since I'm the sticking point, I'm just curious what
she did was,
what are we voting on?
we're voting on kind of a technicality that since we're basically acknowledging that she no longer has to be subject to demolition delay because her plans, they don't trigger any review. It doesn't trigger review by the commission at all. If she had come with the current plans, these new plans, if she'd started with these, we would have never even heard about this project.
Okay,
right?
So there's no dormers, there's no roof line change?
Technically there's no roof line change. There are 2 dormers. They are so-called by right dormers. They conform to the dimensions that are allowed by the Newburyport's ordinances that do not require approval from either us or anyone else, pretty much.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm sure a lot of people will be less than thrilled with that solution, but it is she is legally entitled to do that.
Okay.
Hope that
If
was
that's the case,
Chair-
why do
Chair
we
Richards?
have, why-
let Andrew and then Joe. Go ahead, Andrew.
I'm sorry, why do we even have to respond?
I think it's just for the sake of, tying up loose ends for the building commissioner, because, he was notified that there's a demolition delay. So he sees this demolition delay. On the other hand, he's got the people applying for permits. It's just to make sure that everybody's clear that, okay, there was a demolition delay, but this new plan doesn't violate any whatever, and he may grant, he's able to legally grant permits. It's just kind of tying up a loose end, if you will. Yeah, but if you're detecting a sense of, it's because to a certain extent, Joe, did you also have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that the ordinance language defines exempt dormers, which are,
Right.
as you say, they're allowed by right. And
Right.
she's just reverting to the exempt dormer conditions, and therefore just has decided to bypass any further negotiations with the historic commission, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, that's I think that's fair. Yep, correct.
I don't see why we have to vote on this.
Well, Caitlin, I mean, what do you think? Well, put it this way: if people feel uncomfortable taking that vote, I can just send an email to the building commissioner, that's Greg Errol, saying we've been notified about this change, and as far as we understand it, the demo delay is moot. I could simply do that if people would feel more comfortable with that.
Yep, I think either way is fine. I mean, the demo delay is on the structure based on, the first set of plans.
Right.
So now, he would need to be notified that, now there's a by right set of plans and they
Right.
can move forward, and they would be looking, for some kind of acknowledgement from you all that you understand that.
Yeah. Any, I can go either way. I mean, if people would rather not, do you want me to read that motion again? See if you find it objectionable, or?
I mean, there's nothing objectionable. It's just that there's nothing we can do or say about this.
Right.
Okay. All right. So what I'll do is basically, we instead of taking that vote, the chair will just notify. Make a note here. Notify the building commissioner that that the plans have changed and the new plans do not require review, nor do they trigger okay, I'll word that out. Basically, we'll just acknowledge that this change has happened, and Caitlin, I'll send that to you, and I think I've got Greg Earl's email. I can copy him as well. All right. Well, so that's what happened to 30 Carter Street. The only other thing, as far as business, there was a interesting piece of correspondence. The Mackins Peter Mackin in particular has been a very vocal person. He's either in a butter or close near a butter to the Institution for Savings on State Street. And in his letter, Caitlin, do you still have that handy? Yeah, there it is. So he sent this letter. Of course, a lot of people were surprised that the matter didn't come back before the Historical Commission. There's a long story behind that. I think I already explained that, having to do with what the judge, in this case, ordered be done. So wasn't anything in the city end of things that anyone did that was sneaky or underhanded. It was just the way things worked out. If someone isn't happy with it, their complaint is really with the judge. But in any event, his last paragraph, he suggests that, or requests that current members of this commission send their input to the planning board if possible. He talks about attending the June 22 meeting. Of course, that has gone by, but they didn't. That matter has been continued, so it's not too late to send your thoughts on that. I have sent in some comments. It was just one page, a couple of comments that I really didn't have a whole lot to say because I'd done, a number of historical reports already, and I didn't really have anything substantive new to add. Just wanted to highlight a couple things. So if you would, as individuals, like to do that, that's perfectly fine. Totally up to you. Reminds me of something else I've been meaning to ask you all. I know everyone's sensitive to email overload. I'd like to know if you would like to be copied on things like that or not. For example, okay, here's a good example. This memo about to the building commissioner and Caitlin about this demo delay thing. I could copy you all like I do with my notes. I do by default copy you all on my meeting summaries, and you seem to like that. Would you like to be copied on that stuff? Because easy for me to do. I'm seeing nodding from Andrew, Chris.
Not I, no.
Yep. Mark, Joe, do you
Yep.
want to be copied on that as well? Those things, you can always delete it, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Copy me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
The more information, the better.
Okay. I will do that then, as a matter of course. I've been meaning to ask that for 1 or 2 meetings now, but I've kept forgetting. Okay. Approval of minutes from the 9th of June. I believe there was, I'm sorry. I think Gretchen made a slight change after I reviewed them at Joe's request. So Joe, did you see the revisions? I'll be honest, I didn't look at her revision, but I'm sure it's probably fine.
Yeah, it was perfectly fine. It was just adding my comment from the last meeting regarding regarding clarification of the quorum condition in the case where it might be ambiguous.
Yeah, and I think I already explained that it came up in a very rather contentious way about, probably over a year ago now. And I actually worked with the city council and the planning office to reword that section of the ordinance that defines the working of this commission to be very explicit about that. So, yeah, you're quite legitimate to be concerned about people not quite understanding about what that all is. Anyway, so is there a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And seconded?
Seconded, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So, 1 second here, so I get my little, bear with me. Okay, so Andrew, Bernard?
Yes.
Okay, Mark?
I was absent, so can I?
Oh, that's right. Sorry, you are. Glad to have you back. Chris Fay?
Yes.
Okay, Joe Morgan?
Yes.
And the chair is yes. So we did manage to squeak by 4 votes, fortunately, to prove that. I'll have to chide Mr. Carnwath about attendance. The only update from the chair is just a quick mention, just an FYI for the rest of the team. We are working kind of semi behind the scenes to finalize the at long last the preservation restriction for the old jail property or properties. I've asked Joe to lend a hand with that, just looking for any red flags. My goal is to go through it, work, tweak it to the point where I'm satisfied, and a second pair of eyes, meaning Joe, is also satisfied that nothing strikes us as kind of a danger red flag that the commission would have any strong or have any objection to. So then we can bring it to the full commission for a vote, and I hope to be able to do that within a couple of weeks. because that really has been going on far too long. So that's my only update. I don't think Andy's with us, so there's no update from the planning director. So I think the only other thing, unless someone has a comment or wants to say anything, you can do so now. Or if someone has a motion to adjourn, we can do that as well.
Motion to adjourn.
I think that was Mark, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any second?
Andrew?
Second, Chris.
Okay, so I saw Andrew's hand go up first. Okay. All right. 1 second. Your vote, Andrew?
Yes.
Okay. Mark Syndrome?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Fay?
Yes.
Okay. Joe Morgan?
Yes.
And the chair also assents. So we have a fairly short meeting. We made it before 7:30. So you guys have the rest of your Thursday evening. I hope you enjoy it. And thank you all for your attendance and your attention. And see you in a couple weeks. And at some point,
right.
I know I'm planning some vacation time in July. I think it might fall on the week where we don't have a meeting. So I'll see how that goes. If not, I may be rapping on one of your doors to try to run a meeting. All right, we'll see how that goes. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.